up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Don't Give Up the Ship podcast, episode 106. Today, I'm finally talking to the CEO, or former CEO of the Murtha. Captain Alota has since moved on, but it's been a really popular ask from a lot of listeners. Looking at you, Discord. And it's something that since I've seen his stuff going kind of Navy viral on social media, it's been something that I've wanted to look into as well, just to see, like, what's this all about? Why is it different? Is it replicable? Stuff like that. And we got into all of that. It was really cool talking to him. It was good to get to know him a little bit more too, because like, you can only see so much of like who people are and what they're about by viewing like the social media feed that was curated and stuff. So it was very cool. It was really fun talking to him, and I'm confident I will drag him back on in the future for something else. But with that, I really hope you all enjoy this. Check it out. Hey, real quick. If you can and you're willing to support us, please do so. We'd really appreciate it. We're trying to expand the platform, trying to pay these bills. You can go to dgutspodcast.com. That's Don't Give Up the Ship apparel, some naval pride and heritage gear you'll actually wear in public. Get shirts, hoodies, shower shoes, drawstring bags, all kinds of cool stuff. Dope stickers like these. You can get logo stickers. We got the Enlisted Deviant stuff, all kinds of cool stuff. More to come. Working on lots of designs all the time. We also have the podcast challenge coin, just came out. I'm really proud of that. And then if you also are willing to and able to, please go to patreon.com/dgutspodcast. A lot of really cool benefits, tiers, all kinds of cool stuff to try to drive support for the financial side of the platform. There's demands on all of the things that I want to do to expand, cost money, all the services and subscriptions and all those things. And I am trying to turn this thing into a business and a job so that I can do that and devote all my time to providing more content, services, whatever I can do that helps you out. So if you're willing and able, please go to dgutspodcast.com. You can also go to patreon.com/dgutspodcast and become a member today.
Well, thanks for having me, Master Chief. It's definitely an honor to be on your podcast. I've been listening to a lot of what you put out there, and I'm extremely impressed. And I love everything that you're doing. But just a little bit about me. I'm the son of a chief petty officer.
I heard that. I don't know if it was true. That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's why I put a lot of stake in the chief's mess. It's because of the way that I was raised and the way that he has talked to me about making sure I hold the mess accountable, because they're the ones that are going to make us as a team, as a family, successful. Yeah. So I put a lot of onus on the mess because of my father and everything that he has held me to. Right. And I can attribute a lot of who I am, my leadership style, because of my father. But like I said, I'm a God-fearing man. I'm a husband to a beautiful, gorgeous wife. I'm the father of a Naval Academy grad, class 22 SWO.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm also the father.
Couldn't talk him into submarines? What's going on there?
But I also have a freshman at the Merchant Marine Academy. So I try to have him go to the academy, but he wants to, pave his own way, do his own thing, and make a name for himself and go a different path. So I'm super proud of him. He's a football player. Had a game today, and nice. I'm super impressed. And then I'm a SWO. I love what I do. I love driving ships. I love commanding them. I've commanded 3 ships. Most recently, as you know, is a John P. Murtha. And it's taken me to where I am today. The last thing kind of on my bucket list is a joint job. So that's what led me to Colorado Springs. I'm the director of the Missile Warning Center in Cheyenne Mountain. Unbelievable job. I love it here. I've been in San Diego pretty much my entire career, and I never thought there'd be a comparable place. But Colorado Springs is absolutely
I believe it.
It's pretty dang close.
Yeah, I believe it. So what? So commanded 3 ships. What was your early on background in the Navy like? How'd you come up?
Okay, so I went to the Naval Academy Prep School. I didn't have the grades to get direct in, but I was a recruited football player. So fortunately for me, I had the talent and ability to play at the D1 level, and I was able to to take the burden of financial responsibility from my parents,
Right.
and
Yeah.
went to school that didn't require money because we didn't have much of it. Come from
Yeah.
humble beginnings.
Yeah.
And then went to the academy, became a SWO.
Mm-hmm.
I was a anti-submarine warfare officer, hunted you guys on those. Not very good, but
And then you're like, well, this is pointless, so maybe I should go drive ships.
yeah. I was on
That's
a
funny.
frigate as a
Yeah.
JO, and then after that frigate, I was pretty much all amphibs. I was an engineer
Okay.
as an auxiliaries officer. As a second tour, I became a chief engineer on the
Mm-hmm.
LSD, and then just kind of went through the ranks all the way up. On a was XO CO fleet up on another LSD. Had
Okay.
command of an LSD, two of them, and then which
Mm-hmm.
led me to the the major command, which was the LPD.
Okay. And is that a normal progression for, because like on submarines, you don't normally see a submarine CO do it twice unless they consider like BNs a major command, or not BNs,
Yeah,
GNs. So
yeah,
like, is that a normal?
I had a bonus command. So you do your O5 command, and then your logical progression is O6 command. But
Okay.
I had a bonus command in between. There was a failing organization, failing ship.
Okay.
They fired, unfortunately, the CO, and they put me in,
Okay.
from the bullpen, and was able to turn that ship around.
God, they
And,
should just put you behind some glass and put great break glass in case of emergency, man. Like that should be like
and I
your
would
new
do
gig.
it.
That should just be like a GS something, and then just be like, "Hey, go fix this."
There's nothing
Um,
like that. If I could
yeah,
command my tour or the rest of my time in the Navy, I certainly would.
yeah, that's awesome. So like you talked a little bit about it, which to me it makes a lot of sense. Being a chief for over a decade, but like, can you explain in a little more detail how your dad being a chief influenced? Because like I target a lot of junior sailors too, and they think the chief's mess is like the evil empire. So like, how did it positively influence your leadership, like style or approach or whatever you want to call it? I have a weird outlook on leadership styles, but we don't have to go down that rabbit hole. But like, it's like, how did it influence you into what you are now? Because by every measure that I'm capable of, you're different from every CO that I've ever
Yeah.
had. And I've had some good ones too, but like you, you seem to have an understanding of like what sailors want and what they need, and you walk that line really, really well. So like, how did you arrive at that, and how, like, can you just go into more detail about like how your dad being a chief influenced that? Because I'm curious to know like
Absolutely.
what he did to build that kind of stuff into you.
So I remember the day. It was second grade. I was in a Catholic school. We were playing Foursquare, and we were playing
Great
Foursquare, and it
game.
was me and another guy whose dad was in the Navy,
Yeah.
and we were having this conversation. We kind of found out that our dads were both in the Navy, and he said, "What does your
Mm.
dad do?" I said, "Well, my dad runs the Navy. He's a chief petty officer. He runs the Navy." And he kind of laughs at me, and he was like, "Well, my dad is a captain of a ship. Your dad is just the chief. My dad runs the Navy."
uh,
And so we ended up having this conversation, and I punched the guy in the face, and we had this huge
oh.
brawl. And so that's really the kind of the first, the start of me being kind
Yeah.
of that rambunctious kid, got into trouble.
Yeah.
It all started because of that, and we were both brought into the principal's office. My dad was
Yeah.
called in. My dad was told the story that I punched a guy in the face, and my dad was pretty strict with me, and we're back in the
Yeah.
car, and silent. I thought I was going to get the belt, but then he kind of broke the silence, and he said, son, you have to understand what you did was wrong, but you were right. We do
yeah,
run the
we're
Navy.
going to Dairy Queen. Like,
So when he said and didn't do anything to me, and he said, that I was right, that they do run the Navy, I've always had that perspective and mindset.
okay.
And so everywhere that I've been, whether it's a division officer, whether it's department head, whether it's in
Mm-hmm.
command, to me, it's about winning the locker room. It's about the culture. And if you
Yeah.
don't have somebody to carry the water, i.e. the chief's mess, you're not going to be
Yeah.
successful. So that's why I've always, everywhere I've been, the first group, the first, peer group that I talk to so that I get buy-in is the mess. And when they buy in and they're able to carry the water, you're not going to lose.
Right.
Point blank. And especially if you have a mess, that is understands their role, understands their purpose and value on board the ship, understanding that they run the ship and they get free will to do it, then you can't go wrong on the ship. And I've learned that. I've talked to that about, with my CMC. My CMCs have been phenomenal, but, the one on the JPM Tychicus Turner has been a game changer. And when you get that triad that has, the same belief and the same energy level to get after it, there's pretty special things that could happen.
Yeah. So what's your approach to getting that buy-in? Because like there's arguments to be made that, because like one of the things that I'm the most curious about in your case in particular is, so you have transferred from the Murtha. So like how long does this culture last after UPCS? Because if there's, if CMC then transfers and then some other people and then new CO comes in, maybe they want to put their stamp on it, or just don't believe in the same thing, or it just kind of fades away if you're not there, or whatever. So like how is a CO coming in, especially because you said you relieved on a command that was having a lot of trouble too. So like presumably that mess was having some trouble too. So like how do you go into that room and win those people over in the way that you're talking about?
So the way that I won the room in that particular case, the Harper's Fair, the failing organization, it was about providing vision, providing a little bit of guidance, and then getting out of the way. One of the things I've learned is there are phenomenal people in our organization. They're well-trained, they're smart, they're brilliant. They just want a chance and an opportunity to do their job. So I gave them the vision. These are our specific goals that I want to achieve. Make it happen. And then I gave them the opportunity. Like nobody else changed out on that ship except for me. The XO was there. The CC was there. The department heads. It was the same team. Right. I came in there. I just gave them, kind of what I wanted how I wanted, the culture to be. And then I got out of the way and I let them do their job. And just like that, when they felt like they were empowered to do their job, that organization turned in a heartbeat. We became, we were the failing ship, the embarrassment of the Navy to the go-to ship in the fleet because people were allowed to do their job. When people start to micromanage, that's when ships, go off the wayside because, they don't feel like they have the opportunity or the power to do the things that they were trained to do.
Yeah, I harp on that a ton. I'm a big fan of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and I'm always pointing particularly with the Navy to sense of belonging. And that's like what you provide is like, oh, I'm not just a cog in the wheel anymore. Like he's telling me that I have the ownership of this thing, like my part in the mission or the thing that he wants done. And then, they get that sense of belonging. And it's funny how quickly.
I'm sorry. One of the things that people that they don't realize about me, and when they see my social media, they think I'm just like this wild cowboy. But one of the things that the people that are close to me know that, probably the most, telling thing about me is A, I don't like to lose. And then B, I love to have fun. So when people understand those two things, they don't want to, upset me. And when I'm not having fun and I'm upset, it's only because we're losing. And I don't do losing very well. So like, that whole win every day, be great thing, it's something that I want everybody to embody. I want everyone to feel like everything that you do in life is to be towards achieving a win. I know that you're not always going to win. You're going to take a loss. I play Navy football, and I know that we don't always win. We've had our cases of losses. But if you're okay with losing, then you probably don't belong on our team. If you're okay with being average and mediocre, you don't belong on our ship. But if you're about winning and you strive to win in everything that you do, you're going to get along well with me. And then it's about having fun. Like when you win and you meet all the wickets and all the certifications and all the timelines, then boy, let's go ahead and party like pirates. And that's kind of where my
I like it. How do you deal with because like you communicate the vision, get out of their way. How do you then deal with people that are not okay with failure, but are still failing, maybe not getting on board with it, or even like one of the things I was real curious about is, did you get a lot of pushback with a lot of the stuff that you did? Because it you know, I mean, it was probably contrary to what a lot of people had seen. Not that it was negative in general, but like you might get some old salt coming in going, this isn't what we do, you know, or whatever.
Yeah.
I figured there might be like maybe an XO or a department head, or particularly like an old salty senior chief that's just like thinks it's unprofessional or whatever. Like, how do you deal with that kind of stuff?
So to be honest with you, I did deal with that very often. And to be honest, like from senior leaders, they loved what we were doing because we got underway on time every time. We met every mission. We were so good that we took ships that were failing. We took their mission. You know, you think about in the 2-year span, the things that we're able to do between getting out of the yards during COVID, you know, certifying basic phase, early, advanced, you know, 3 out of area deployments with an in-serve, just in a 2-year span. We were getting rocked hard. You know, the folks were going through some stuff, but because we were doing epic things while underway, the sailors were looking forward to getting underway because they were saying, all right, what does Captain Alota have planned up his
next?
sleeve? Yeah. So, you know, and that's all part of the winning thing. Like as long as we are meeting the mission, as long as, you know, we are doing the things that, you know, that we were tasked to do, no one was going to complain. Yeah, we may have had a different way of doing things. Yeah, there's a lot of smiling sailors on board the ship, and people were probably confused as to why. They've been out to sea for, you know, 60% of the time over the last 2 years, and they're still smiling and they're still, you know, high morale. What is going on? Because that's not what the SWO Navy is supposed to be like. And to those naysayers, I say, we're built a little bit different. We're changing the game. As long as we're winning, why not have a little bit of fun? Why not do some things that people are excited to get out to see to do?
Yeah. I mean, I would say that, like, to those people, I would say you're doing it wrong. Like, and did you get any of that type of like, because, like, I mean, the videos were everywhere, and it seemed like at least the Navy that I was paying attention to on social media and stuff, like, I follow a ton of pages that was everywhere. And it's like, I would assume that people were reaching out to you going, what is going on the ship? In like, maybe curiosity, but also like, okay, what's the secret sauce? Like, how are you doing this? And then did anybody ever talk to you about like how to potentially replicate it? Whether it's like you doing training with people, or you providing some type of doctrine, or them building it into some type of curriculum along the way, or what? Like, if that hasn't happened, it's criminal. Like that, because that would be the first question I would have if I'm sitting in the MCPON chair and somebody's holding their phone at me going, check this out. Like, all right, I need to go see what this is all about, you know, and like, how can I replicate this?
So one of the things, you know, from my last commander, one of the things he warned me about was being so different and, you know, outside the box that, just like you said, it's going to be hard to replicate. And he said, one of the things that stuck with me is, you know, one of the things that you should be concerned about is the day after you leave. Is the morale, is, you know, is the culture going to be the same after you leave? And to that, I'm like, I don't know, and I don't care. Like, I am concerned about the here and the now. I want to make sure that the folks feel like they are living purposeful lives, you know, that they are getting after it, and we are doing the things that we're supposed to do. What happens after I leave, that's for everyone else to carry the water. You know, when I talk about leaving a legacy, I'm talking about the inner circle, my department heads, the chief's mess, you know, the XO, the CMC. Whether or not they want to go in that direction, that is not up to me. Now, you know, as far as the culture is concerned, if you're still about, you know, loving the sailors, you know, empowering the sailors, giving them the opportunity to do their jobs, to live, to learn, that is a culture that every single ship, every single organization, every single command should want to have. So I can only do so much with building that culture. And you may have that same sort of idea, but you may have different ways of achieving that culture. That is up to the next CO, right? But as far as, you know, advice to the other COs, you know, no one's really talked to me about, you know, going out and preaching the word or giving guidelines. All I could say, and the only thing, it's pretty simple to me, it's just to love your sailors, love your job. Wake up every day understanding that you have this huge opportunity to influence so many lives in such a positive way. And if you fail to understand that you have that opportunity and you're blessed, you know, with that, you know, with that opportunity, then that's on you. And
Right.
Shame on you for taking on a role of command and not knowing that it's not about you. It's about the people. It's about the sailors. It's about the ship and the mission.
Do you think it's replicable for what, like, so like it's probably easy to argue that most people viewed you as like a transformational leader, right? So like I take you out, I put, you know, a regular CO in, right? Do you think somebody with a vastly different leadership style than you or approach, but they believe in the same principles, like do you think it's replicable with somebody else doing it like significantly differently while chasing the same goals? Does that make sense?
I think it is. I mean, you
Yeah.
just have to have like-minded people, right?
Yeah.
And why was I able to do that on the Mirtha? First of all, I love to drive ships, and I feel like I'm pretty
Mm-hmm.
good at it, right? So I have a lot of confidence in my abilities to drive a ship. So I allow
Mm-hmm.
the junior officers to make mistakes every once in a while because the only way they're going to learn is if they drive it on their own and they make a mistake and then they correct it. And I give them
Yeah.
enough leeway to be able to do that. So I have a lot of confidence in my ability to drive the ship. I have a lot of
Mm-hmm.
confidence in my ability to fight the ship. So when you have a lot of confidence in your abilities, you allow the sailors to learn on their own, to make the mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And when we like in engineering, the same thing. I have such a pretty good engineering background. People fail when their engineering plan is not up to par.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that we meet every wicket so that people have confidence that we can go out and meet the mission. And when
Mm-hmm.
we meet the mission, you know, that you'll have some dead time in your schedule. There's always
Yeah.
dead time in your schedule, and people don't realize that. But when it's what you do with that dead time, do
War on
you?
white space, man.
Yeah.
Just pack
So
that plan of the week with.
one of the things that I've been pretty proud of is every single underway, whether it was contractor sea trials, whether it was in serve, you name
Mhm.
it, deployment. We've always had a swim call or a still beach picnic.
Yeah.
And people think, why have a still beach picnic? That's just so that you guys could just, enjoy the sun and goof off on, and have good hamburgers and hot dogs. The
Yeah.
purpose of the still beach picnic is to get the CSs some time off. They are
Yeah.
working their butts off without any time off. And people don't
Yeah.
understand that it is a taxing job to cook
Yeah.
for 1,000 sailors and Marines
Mhm.
7 days a week. So if you just
Yep.
give them an opportunity to get a day off, where some other organization, the Chiefs Mess, the Wardroom, First
Yeah.
Class Association, is cooking a meal or two,
Mhm.
and when the CSs could sleep in, that's a game changer. And then they feel like
Yeah.
someone cares about them, someone is looking after them. The next time they cook, they're just going to cook with so much more love because they know that someone cares about them. And then,
Yeah.
there's examples after examples, but when you just take care of sailors or when they feel like someone cares about them,
Mhm.
you just get a whole nother beast.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah. You're
understand that.
tugging
It's
on
a
my.
simple recipe, it's a
Yeah.
simple game
You.
plan. But when
Yeah.
you just care about a sailor and they know that they're cared about, they
Yeah.
perform above and beyond.
Yep. You're pulling on my heartstrings, man. Like that's
Yeah.
you're preaching to the choir in my case, but like that's something that my listeners hear a lot. Is like take care of the sailors, sailors take care of the mission. It's weird. It's so
Absolutely.
simple.
And I heard that when you talk to Senior Chief. And one of the things I've talked to
Mhm.
the mess about, every time I hear that, mission first, sailors always, or
Yeah.
people always,
Yeah.
I say BS. That is
Yeah.
not right. It's people
Yeah.
first.
The,
You
the
take care of the
sailors are the
people,
mission.
have
Yeah.
the people, you're not going to have a mission. And you
Yeah.
see that
Yeah.
in the Navy today, where ships are failing because people are so
Mhm.
disgruntled, and they
Mhm.
have all these mental health issues because because
Yep.
they don't feel like no one cares about them, that they're
Yep.
just this pawn in this huge game, and they're getting abused and used when they
Yeah.
feel like they know that they got to roll up their sleeves and get dirty, and they have to
Mhm.
have some sort of sacrifice.
Yeah.
But when you give them a little bit of love, a little bit of
Mhm.
recognition, a little bit of a pat on the back, whatever it is, they're going to work that much harder because they
Yeah.
know that someone cares about them, and their work is not going unnoticed.
100%. That's dude. That's awesome. It's fun. It's funny. It's always validating because like I feel like I'm shouting at the wind a lot of times, and then I'll bring somebody like you on, and you're saying the same thing, And it's just like, see, like, I'm not making this shit up. Like, I don't know. That was the first one. So with another question that I had was like, how did you, cause you said you commanded a couple times before, but like what created the idea to do the social media stuff? And like, was there a goal there, or like, what was the reason, and like, whose idea was it, and how did it manifest? I was always curious about like, it's cool. It was fun to see. And obviously like I learned about you that way, and a lot of other people did. And the impact it had on me, and I think a lot of other people, was like, see, it is possible. So like, was that the mentality, or was there some other reason for it?
Yeah. So you think about, so first of all, I had the command of USS Comstock, command of USS Harper's Ferry prior to the John P. Murtha. And if you ask any of the sailors that served under my command of those two previous ships, they would have told you that I'm the same exact way. The things that they saw on the social media, they're like, oh yeah, we experienced all that.
Yeah.
We know that Gervy Alota is the real deal. Well, as far as having, wild and epic things.
Right.
The reason why I started the social media, if you think back to the summer of 2020 when I took over, it was COVID. We were in the yards, a lot of social unrest, political environment in our country was off the chain. With all the racial, George Floyd things going on in the world. Yeah. And we were so backed up in a corner with all of these different things that, our rally cry was, we have COVID to our right, the yards, the racial injustices, political unrest. We need to embrace this corner and find a way to fight our way out. When I first took command, we were duty section only because of COVID. And we're in the yards, behind in the yards. And I knew that the only way that these sailors could improve on their morale, to, show a little love and joy in doing their job, was to get back out at sea. So I needed folks to want to come back to work. I wanted them to feel energized and live purposeful lives to get out of the yard so that we can get out to sea where we belong. So I didn't know who was who. We were all masked. It was duty section only. I'm going to work every day. So the only way that I can touch sailors and infect them was through social media. I'm a rah guy. I huddle the team up. Every Friday I do all hands calls. I'm looking them in the face. I'm getting passionate. I'm getting, really excited. Yeah. And that's where I make my money. I feel like I couldn't do that in this COVID environment. We can only be together for 5 minutes at a time. We had a social distance 6 feet apart. So I was just like, man, how am I going to get to the rest of the crew? I sat down with the sailors and I was talking to this HM3 who I said, how do I get to the masses? Like, so have you thought about social media? And I was like, I don't do that. I don't have Facebook. I don't have Snapchat. I don't have any of that stuff. He's like, well, there's this Instagram thing that we're all on. If you get your own account and you just put that out there, then, you're going to be able to get the message out. So I was like, well, I don't know how to do that. So we sat there. She actually inputted my name. She's like, what do you want to be called? And I was like, I don't know, just make something up. So she set up my account. And then if you look at some of my older posts, they're a little bit cringy. But it wasn't to start, to get like this crowd of followers. I didn't want to be like this, this influencer. I just wanted to talk to the people. I just wanted to let them know that this is who I am. This is what I want to achieve as the CEO of this ship. And then it just kind of blew up. Then it became like, we should, and then I used it as A, to get my word out, and then B, just to recognize sailors. And then C, as we started deploying, I used it as a tool for friends and family to kind of see all the cool things that we do in the Navy.
Yeah, and like a ship's page.
And got out of control.
Okay.
But the social media is the only thing that has changed with me and my leadership style. I'm still about the friends and the family. I'm all about the love and the epic things. Yeah. But now people are able to see it because I have now this, this medium called Instagram for folks to see it.
It's funny because you just described me like talking to a chief when I was an A school instructor, going like we had all these students reaching back with all these leadership questions. I'm like, what resource can I create to like just point them to the resource instead of repeating the same thing over and over and over and over again? And so I arrived at a podcast because like I didn't want my face and name on it at the time because I was still active duty. And I'm like, this turns into a thing. Like I don't want people recognizing me as I'm walking down the pier. So that's how I arrived at a podcast thing. Same thing. It's like reach sailors where they are. And it's even, I mean, it's more acute during COVID, obviously, but did it blowing up like it did? Did that cause any like pain at all? Or was there anybody that was just like, what is this dude doing?
Nope. No. I think there's so I've had zero negative feedback from any senior leadership. I know that there's some crusty sailors, crusty chiefs, crusty old salts that don't like what I'm doing, but it's not for them. It's it's never been intended for them. It's intended for the sailors and their family. And as long as I keep that frame of mind, I'm not going to change what I do, right? Because the sailors love it. And the only ones that matter to me are the sailors themselves. And when the sailors come back to me and say, "Sir, that was epic," or "That was awesome," and the friends and family come back and say, "Thanks for doing that. I haven't seen my son or my baby girl in over several months or years," and the fact that I saw them smiling and doing their jobs, it warmed my heart. And now that I could breathe easy knowing that they're taken care of. So that's why I do it. And there's been nothing but positivity from my end. And to be honest with you, I don't care. Like I want to be able to be a ray of sunshine to these sailors and to their family members. And as long as we're getting the mission done, who cares?
It'd be a way different conversation if like you weren't meeting any metrics and like
absolutely
like, hey man, you think you can go certify to go deploy real quick? That'd be great. Because I got that question a lot with the podcast, like because I've been doing it for 7 years, and so I was active duty for a lot of it. And anybody ever like give you a hard time? Because like I'm pretty critical of the Chiefs mess in a lot of ways, and like certain programs and whatever. And I've never once gotten like negative feedback, and except for like I post stuff on Reddit, and like you're just asking for a face punch. But it's junior sailors that are like have anonymity, so they're just like, oh, this chief wants to know what I think, and. But other than that, it's like I've never gotten negative feedback, and particularly from like any naval leadership or anything like that. But I've heard horror stories of like guys doing certain things on YouTube or like whatever, and getting blowback. But I think intent matters a lot too. Like what I'm doing is constructive, I think, and so does everybody. All the feedback I've gotten, and so like same thing with you. Like everything you're doing is constructive, so I don't see why anybody would have a problem with it. But.
And my my philosophy on my reels and the things that I post, all about positivity. Showcasing the goodness of the surface Navy, specifically the amphibious Navy. We don't get a lot of love. Like, we're kind of the bastard childs of the surface Navy. But when you see the things that we're capable of doing, and when you see the real estate of the amphib and how big and cool it is, it's a recruiting tool, right? And and there's so many things that these young sailors do on a daily basis that people don't see or know about. And when I'm able to showcase them doing, their jobs, one of just being, the CSs, for instance, they don't know. No one knows, the amount of work that goes behind the scenes in creating this masterful, meal for all those sailors and Marines to eat. And when I'm able to showcase them having fun doing it, cooking with love, with a lot of energy and passion, and and then they're able to see themselves, having fun doing it, it goes a long way. So I really kind of focus on the positive things. There's always going to be negative things that happen on the ship. You're away from your families. You're not always going to have connectivity. Life sucks. You're doing drills, GQs at night. Yeah, of course, there are going to be some things that aren't going to be, happy go lucky. But when you focus on the good things, focus on the positive things, folks kind of reach back and remember back in their brains, holy smokes, it may have sucked, for this period of time, but it was so epic for this other period of time. And hopefully they remember the positive things and, kind of keep the negative things back in their mind saying, yeah, it does suck, but we have to train, we have to be ready. But it's all worth it if we're able to do this.
Yeah.
And one of the things when we talk about goals for the ship and setting the vision, my my goal for every single sailor was to have a positive sea story. So if at my checkout, one of the things I asked is, what is your positive sea story? If they say, sir, there is not, I don't have one. And I have failed them as a leader. So I'm always thinking about, prior to sailing, I got all my thoughts, all these things I'm thinking about, engineering, navigation. I'm also thinking about, how am I going to get them a positive sea story when we pull back in?
So I was going to ask kind of like a more general question about like what else along the way influenced your leadership approach besides your dad kind of laying the foundation. Like, did you have like significant leaders along the way that really influenced you? But then you just said something that I feel like is a significant hurdle for most leaders. It's just having the willingness to admit something like, I failed you as a leader. Like if X is true, I failed you. Or just taking any accountability for pretty much anything. Like I take it to like an extreme where no matter what happens, like there's always a piece that's personal responsibility. But the first question I'm asking myself is like, how did I fail you as a leader, which
Absolutely,
to lead us to this point, right? How did you get that wired into you? Like, did it happen along the way? Is there an experience or a person or a combination of? Because I feel like that's a thing that trips up a lot of people.
Yeah, one of my leadership tenets is, don't cast blame, take responsibility. And anytime we fail as an organization, it's my fault, right? Just kind of like as a football coach, when you win, it's all about the people. It's the team. It's the ones in between the lines. And if we fail, it's my fault. I didn't get them prepared, and I've learned all of that through my my athletic history. When I played football at the Naval Academy, I was the captain my senior year, and it was a tough. You talk about, of all the leadership positions that I've been in, the hardest one was being the captain of that football team. A lot of type A personalities, getting everybody to buy in on on the one common goal, which was to win. There were times, that when we lost games my senior year, it was because of me. It's because I didn't get the team ready. It's because I made stupid calls. And it's about being humble. It's about having a little humility when you take on these leadership roles. It's how you handle adversity, right? When you've taken a loss, it's your fault. How are you going to bounce back and get everybody back on track with their heads held high, chests puffed out, feeling good about themselves? And when you could do that as a leader, getting them back up, kind of just spitting on your wound, rubbing a little dirt on it. And when they feel like, okay, all right, I'm not going to get yelled at. I'm not going to get blamed for, this particular event. The captain has showed me that it's okay to make mistakes, just as long as I don't make the same mistake twice. And I keep, telling them that, like Captain's Mass, right? Or NJPs. If I'm pretty lenient, it is a life-changing moment. I don't curse. The only time I curse is during NJPs because I want it to be a life-changing moment. But if it's a first-time offense, it's a slap on the wrist, depending on whatever the offense is. But if they see me again, they're done. Like, you just created this pattern, and you have shown me that, the things you weren't willing to change. You weren't willing to learn from your mistakes. So how can I trust you? And if I can't trust you, you're dead to me. I don't need you on board my ship. So, there's a lot of things that, through my leadership style, I give a lot of people the benefit of the doubt. I trust them from the very beginning. It's when they, choose to make a mistake, and when they choose to make the same mistake twice, that's when, I've lost it.
Yeah, you just answered my next question. I was going to ask about like if you guys had anything that was unique about your approach to discipline, or just kind of your outlook on it, because that's something that, like, it seems like most sailors interpret it as, and I've seen it a lot too, where Chiefs Mess Triad you go through the process of a PIO, DRB, all that stuff. It's like the people like to default to discipline instead of asking the question, what did I do to fail them? Right. Like if they were never properly trained or qualified, that's my fault. That's not their fault. Or if I somehow set them up to fail because they didn't get enough sleep or whatever the case is. Was there anything different, or was it just like you kind of went into it? Like, I guess a better question is like, did you inform or communicate to like the Chiefs mess and the rest of the triad, like, this is the way that I approach this process, and I want to make sure that we're getting to the bottom of like, well, okay, what happened? How did we get here? What went wrong? What was our involvement in that? Or what was our like culpability in that? And then how can we fix it going forward? And because one thing that I've almost universally seen through being part, I've been a PIO a million times. I've done DRBs. I was an SEL and all that stuff. And so like the thing that I always had to fight to inject into the process was like, how do we fix this going forward? I don't want to see this kid again. Like, so how do we make sure that this doesn't happen again? Like, what's the corrective action? How do we meet whatever need wasn't met so that this sailor doesn't have the same issue? So like, how did you do that on board the ships that you commanded?
Yeah. So one of the things that folks know about me is I'm about love first, right? And I want sailors to know that I love them, I care about them, and I want them to succeed. I want them to win. I want them to be, contributing members to our society, doing great and epic things for our Navy. And when they choose not to, right, that is a choice that they're making, and and it will be dealt with accordingly. But I also tell the Chiefs mess that they own that process, right? If you feel like you always have to give them to me to fix your problems, then you are failing as a chief. So Chiefs, you own that good order and discipline. And if you've done everything within your power to correct a deficiency and you can't win, then you send them to me. And understand that if they are sent to me, it's because there's a lot of effort that was put into this person, and they need some consequence.
Right.
So, when I talk to the Chiefs mess, the first thing I tell them is, if we are winning as a ship, it's because of you. It's because of the mess. If we are losing as an organization, it's because of you. So how the Chiefs mess goes is how the ship goes. And that goes with division officers. If you have a great division officer, that's because of the chief. If you have a failing division officer, that's because of the chief. If you have a failing sailor, it's because of the chief.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad you're saying it that way, because I thought you were going to say it was your fault as a commander. I'm like, no, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's our fault.
But then, and then if we just can't correct the sailor as a whole after the Chiefs messes got to him, after I got to him, then they're probably a lost cause and they need to get off.
Right. Yeah.
But, when sailors feel like, going back to the love thing, when they feel like they're loved, they go out of their way, to make sure that they act appropriately, that they make good decisions.
Right.
And when they purposefully make bad decisions, knowing that they have a chief, a division officer, a department head, a CEO that loves them and cares about them, and they still blow us off, they slap us in the face and say, F you, Captain, F you, Chief, then we can't help you, and you're better off this.
I'd say you're better off the ship because that help is elsewhere. There goes my dogs. Because like even those ones, I'm always like, I look at it like, they still need help. There's still a need not being met, but it's like there's a point at which like I need somebody else to take care of this, because you guys have a mission to take care of. I need to take care of the people that are here that are going to be fighting the ship. I can't devote all my attention to the one malfunctioning unit. I'll hand you off to people that can take best care of you, and then maybe they get back in the fight later somewhere else, and that's obviously the goal. But just making sure that they get what they need, like that, just because I can't deal with it on the ship doesn't mean that we're not going to deal with it at all.
Absolutely. And I'm under the firm belief that if I have the ability to influence, to positively influence a sailor, I don't care if they're E1, E9, I'm going to have that opportunity, because if that's my job, right? My job is to be able to give every sailor and Marine on board the ship an opportunity to be great. And if if it just takes a 5-minute conversation, a 10-minute conversation in my cabin to say, I believe in you. Why are you being an idiot right now? You have so much to offer. I need you to go out, do the things that I know you're capable of doing, and stop acting like a knucklehead. If it requires me to be able to do that, even if it's a young fireman, a young seaman, I'm willing to do that. I am not above anyone on board the ship. And when CEOs get in that position where they feel like, oh, I don't need to talk to, they're just the E1, that's, for them to do. I have issues with that, right? We have a lot of time. When we're out to sea, we have a lot of time, believe it or not. And if I could use 5 minutes of my day to change a sailor's life and their mindset, I'm willing to do that. And all leaders should.
That's awesome. Yeah. No, I agree. Especially, it's cool when like the source matters. Like, so when the CO is taking time, like it's a big deal. Even in the Chiefs mess, like I had a CO that I didn't get along with very well. It's a long, boring story, but like he wasn't a bad dude, but there was just some stuff. So we don't need to go down that road. But like he would come to the mess like once a week and have a conversation with us. Like he would just come in, sit down, just be like, all right, hit me. Like, what's going on? What do you need? What questions do you have for me? Kind of thing. And that like even though he was a guy that like I butted heads with, it was meaningful that he took the time to do that. And so like anytime a CO is going to stop and talk to you, and it like the point was driven home for me when I was a chief and I was an A school instructor. And when I would walk around, I'd spend a lot of time talking to students, and it was just like you could see the just hero worship in their eyes, like, oh my God, this chief spending all this time, like talking to me about how I can succeed and what I can do better. And even just like telling them about submarines, if they were going to sub school next, like they're going to find out, they're going to spend 4 years on a submarine. They're going to know more about it than I do at this point. So it's like, but it just, I don't know, like just taking the time, like that person being an important person in their universe, and then that person taking the time, deciding that it's important enough to like have that conversation with them means a ton.
Yeah. And so it's about fostering connected relationships. And then, so I also use that to throw that back in the chief. I'm like, Chief, why is this person coming to me? Why aren't they coming to you? Right. And why aren't you fostering that connected relationship? Why do I know so much about this sailor? And it looks like you're taken by surprise by it. Why aren't you fostering that connected relationship?
My Cobb, and then, one of my Cobbs, he's a mentor to this day. He would always say, like, if he knew something that I didn't know that I was supposed to know, how do I know this and you don't know this?
Absolutely,
like, why do I know this and you don't? Like, that's a great question. I don't have an answer to. I'll go find out. But yeah.
And a lot of it is being approachable. And I talk to department heads. You just have to be able to be approachable. Not everyone is built like me, and I get it. I'm not. We're all different in this. In this world. But when sailors feel like they are comfortable enough to have a conversation with you, and sometimes that tough love requires you to just say, suck it up, roll up your sleeves, and get dirty. Go talk to your chief, and go do your job and stop complaining, because we all have problems. Sometimes it requires that kind of conversation. And I've had plenty of those conversations.
For sure.
And they're like, holy smokes. Okay. I get it. And then they move on.
But those conversations work because you took the time to care about them leading up to that point. So they like, I almost feel like they receive it as like, oh, I'll take my medicine and go do what you know what I mean? Like they know you care about them. So if you're telling them that, if you're giving them tough love, they know like, okay, this is what I need to go do.
And it's my job to do it. Like it's my job. My job is to be able to listen to sailors and be able to give them every opportunity to do their jobs, do the things that they're trained to do. And if I feel like a sailor is not worth my time, then I am failing as a leader.
Yeah, I agree. So what's next, man? Like, are we gonna keep seeing you on Instagram, or like, what's the plan going forward?
Hard, right? Because now I work in this super secret mountain. Right? I go in and I can't bring the cell phone in anywhere.
Right.
So it's a little bit difficult. I've been really challenged with this whole Instagram thing, because I thought I was just going to get rid of it after the show, because I'm no longer the CEO and I no longer have this audience that I was reaching out to. But a lot of folks have convinced me that it's something, I've built this following. We've started this movement about love and positivity. Why not keep it going? And I know that
Yeah. Why not
There's
start a
other things.
podcast? I
No,
might
I don't
know a
know.
guy that can help you out. I'm just
So there's other things that I want to do in my career. And I
Yeah.
think the ultimate job, is still to be an influence in young officers. Like I've always had this dream of going back to the Naval Academy and being the commandant of midshipmen so that I can
Okay.
positively influence all these young potential officers, whether they're SWOs,
Yeah.
submariners, pilots, Marines.
Right.
I just want to be able to mold them and shape them to be positive, to be
Yeah.
energetic, because I want them to understand that they have this huge responsibility as leaders, to influence. And the way that you project yourself, the way that you carry yourself goes a long way. It's infectious. So you can either be, the positive or the vitamin C positive, infection, or you could be the coronavirus, the negative infection style. It's entirely up to you. It's a choice. People leave the academy, not everyone, but there's a pretty good number that leave pretty with a very negative attitude, and they enter the fleet with that negative attitude, especially in the SWO community. And it doesn't bode well for the ship or an organization as a whole. So if I can just go there and infect them with positivity, high energy, and enthusiasm, then I feel like I have purpose. That I can still do something in this organization with my career. And that's one of the few jobs I feel like I can make a difference, and that's what I would love to do.
Got my vote, man. I'd love to see a commandant of the war college. I don't know if that's a after or before job, but I'm just saying like that the employing you to make leadership development and education better would be a win in my book. But well, thanks, man. Do you got any save rounds or alibis? Anything we didn't talk about that you want to?
No, I don't know if, we always say win every day, be great. Folks don't truly understand what the meaning is behind it. We kind of talked about the winning. It's an all the time thing. We're not okay with being mediocre or average. If we are, people die, and we can't allow people to die in this organization. And then the being great. It's a point B. Who you are and where you are right now is your point A. Who you want to be and where you want to go is your point B. If you're not waking up every single morning thinking about how you're going to get closer to your point B is not big enough. So I always talk, when I talk to folks, I want to know what their point B is, because it's my job to help them get towards closer to their point B. And then GREAT's an acronym. We all love acronyms. It's about having goals in life. Be relentless towards achieving those goals. Excellence in everything you do. Having a positive attitude and understanding it's not about you, it's about the team. So when we say win every day, be great, that's what it's all about. I use it in my Pop Warner football teams that I've coached, use it as a division officer, use it as a CO, use it here in the space, U.S. Space Command. I just want everyone to understand, if everyone kind of had that belief and that mentality, this whole Navy, this organization, this world would be a far better place.
I do have one last question. Talk to me about Sexy Warship. Where did that come from?
Ooh, so
I saw that on a bunch of posts.
So when I first took command, when we talk about vision, I wanted us to be the sexiest warship on the waterfront. Sexy in how we look, sexy in how we sail, sexy in how we fight. And I left it up to the department heads and the chiefs mess to define what that sexy meant to them. Right.
Yeah.
So that was just kind of my thing, my vision, and our kind of our rally cry is, we're going to be the sexiest ship on the waterfront. How are you going to make us sexy? So first lieutenant, when we pull back into port, there better be JLGs waiting on the pier so that we can get after the sides. There better not be any rust, and when we sail, we better look sharp. We better be on station every single time. Get out to sea on time, be on station. And when we fight, we better have a bird off the rail, on time, as scheduled, and on target every single time.
Yeah.
So that's what the whole sexy thing meant to me.
I like it. It's a lot better. It's a lot more digestible to the target audience than like Squared Away or like Formality or whatever, formal communications and like, all that kind of stuff. I dig it, man. Well, thank you so much for doing this. This was super fun. The audience has been clamoring to hear from you. And like, I've been telling them like, look, he's a busy dude. I'm trying, but like, And then, so this will be, I'm really excited to put this one out there and for everybody
Chief, I appreciate you, and I appreciate all that you do. You keep it up, and you continue to fight the good fight. And, the way that you preach about taking care of sailors is that's what needs to get out. And if I can help you with your cause, don't hesitate to ask. We need to be able to take care of our sailors, because we know that there's nothing that we could do as a Navy organization if we don't have the sailors. So loving our sailors, caring about them, recognizing them, appreciating them is what we should be dedicating our lives towards.
I dig it. I love it. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. This was awesome.
All right, Master Chief, you have a good one.
All right, I hope y'all enjoyed that. I had a great time. Really great dude, like I said. And it was cool to get the perspective of the guy that, not that he didn't have help, obviously, but the kind of the driving force behind the culture that we all perceived from social media, and to hear him talk about it and kind of explain some of the mechanics of it and his outlook on it and how he approached all those things was pretty cool. And I wish, I wish more commanding officers were at least willing to experiment with that a little bit, like do your own research, learn, find different approaches, and just get a better understanding of all of the levers you have at your disposal, and try to do something that's a little outside the norm to make the really hard thing that we do hurt less, basically, which is, I think, what was accomplished really, really well on that ship. So, I hope y'all enjoyed that. I had a great time talking to him. If you want to reach out to us, provide any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, what have you, hit us up, don'tgiveup@gmail.com. You could Facebook message us, Don't Give Up the Ship Podcast. You can DM us on Instagram, Reddit, or Discord at dgutspodcast. If you want to support us, there's a donate button on the website at dgutspodcast.com, or you can go to Don't Give Up the Ship Apparel. Get yourself some naval pride and heritage gear you'll actually wear in public. That's dgutspodcast.com. I got some cool stuff there, a ton of stickers, shirts, all kinds of stuff. The coins are there. The Don't Give Up the Ship Podcast Challenge coins are there. Much more to come as I kind of rev this thing back up and really, really dive in with both feet. Just kind of getting my hands around this YouTube thing. You can support us that way as well. Go subscribe on YouTube, share the videos, stuff like that. But just trying to get my hands around all the video editing stuff. I think I fixed that little glitch in the camera that you probably have seen. I'm trying out OBS for recording this part, and I'm looking at like some other programs and stuff to try to like make the quality better. Eventually, it'll be hopefully as good of quality as like the podcast and stuff. But like it happened with those. Like it took me a while to evolve in that way. Doing all this myself, learning all this myself. But and with that, that's what I got for you today. Thank you so much for listening, and don't give up the ship. Please hit the like button, drop a comment down below on what you thought, and subscribe to the channel.